All right, I guess it was unscripted, but whatever. I'll freeform it. This is my post build review of my Steam AK420. I'll link the uh, I'll link the live stream. I mean, spoiler alert. It's like 16, 20 something hours of raw, uncut, unedited. You get to hear all my expletives and anger and all my praise at the same time. So it was just the raw form of the build. Overall, I do not regret this craft at all. Let's just get that out of the way. It is exactly what it's supposed to be, a cheap budget helicopter, and it's meant to be, for my purposes, a trainer that performs well when I'm going to want to upgrade learning, you know, inverted and 3D and all that. But for the most part, this is meant to be an expendable craft that I'm not gonna pucker up every time it hits the deck. It literally repairs just as cheap as a micro heli. I mean, go look at the parts list. Your tail booms, your skids. I mean, everything is cheaper or even in price. They're super competitive with how cheap their parts are to replace. So that out of the way, I got exactly what I paid for. Now let's open it up under the hood so you can see what the final look is. I still have to do the avionics and set up the flight controller or the Nexus and everything, so the geometry and all that. But everything has been done up properly. All the wiring's done. I did the frame, got it all locked. After I assembled it, then I went back and I redid all the Loctite and everything. So that's the way I like doing it. Some people say that's overkill and not necessary, but I think you get a straighter frame as a result of doing it this way. Just put everything in. Don't even have to hand tight. Just get them in place. Then after everything's assembled, pull each screw out by the number or fastener by the numbers. Clean it, clean the degrease, put your thread lock on, and then fasten it in tightly. And I just started from the top at the motor or at the frame, main frame assembly here, and then I worked my way and spread out. And then when I put the last thing to go in was the for the pinion, the motor mount, and I have no backlash. But we'll see. Some people say like 0.5 millimeters of backlash, whatever. It's not wedged in there just tight, super tight, but it's just enough. Now there's you can see some gapping here, but that's just the way it's designed with the pinion and going into the main gear. Everything overall though, it runs nice and smooth. It's a good craft. I got everything I paid for. I ran the sleeving over the cables for the servos and everything. So I got some nice paracord, and I tried to color code it. I mean, yellow for the servos and the main ESC and everything. But then for to differentiate my telemetry and RPM sensors, I just put an orange and a red there. I thought about sleeving these as well, but they already came nicely sleeved as it is, and so that's clean enough. There, let you have a moment to pause. And overall, the design is fine. I think this craft will do just great for training. Now let's go over the manual and find anything that I did or did not like. All right. All right, first of all, it doesn't come with a manual. You have to download the manual and print it yourself or run it on a PDF on a tablet or whatever next to you. So that's just the way they save money, I guess. All right. Gear acquired for assembly. I mean, the basics. I definitely made use of this for removing the feathering shaft. There were Some of the fasteners were in there pretty tight. They did not come with one that matched the size of the tail shaft, so I actually had to order my own offhand through Amazon. It took a few days for it to arrive. So that was one foul there. They don't have a full tool set to match the for the tail. But so that's a little nitpick. Loctite 271 and 680 are your primaries, and then obviously, oil and grease where needed. All right, here's where my first gripe came. This all came assembled already, and that was frustrating to get all these pieces out. And especially there was some waffling around. I mean, they've got bearing application here, color-coded green, but then they also color-coded this green. So I erred on the side of caution and put a tiny soup, because I didn't want to get anything in here gumming it up, but I did put an itty bitty little tiny bit of green thread lock, and that was a mistake. Is it going to cripple the craft? No, everything's running smooth. And if I had to do it all over again, I say ignore the color coding everywhere in this manual. I have no idea why their convention shows red here. Do they mean red Loctite or do they mean a blue? Foul. Getting this piece out, I thought they were just joking with me and that they'd already applied the locker in here. But no, once I put this this bolt through and I'd actually tightened it down, it popped the piece right out. So this piece did come out, but I had to insert the fastener in here. Same thing, blue color coding, so I use blue Loctite. Oh wait, that bolt was red on the other page, now it's blue. These are the kind of small little nitpicky things that lead to confusion and frustration. No issues on this page. Everything here actually went together pretty nicely. This over here was a frustration because they're showing you to put Loctite in and then insert the screw. Well, this came pre-assembled at the factory. And when I tried to pull it apart, I couldn't. And I got nervous. So I really put pressure on it. And yes, it was actually already, it had its Loctite as it was assembled at the factory. So again, they're not clear in the manual. Maybe they printed the manual and then after the fact decided, you know what, we changed our mind. We are going to actually do it at the factory and pre-assemble it for you. So this came pre-assembled and already Loctite with everything in. This was a big boo-boo here. I didn't realize that this was actually a small little a guide to pin it in place as you're inserting it. So I did not back this one out. I didn't catch that in the assembly. And if you can see here, I gashed my tail. I hope it comes, there it goes. So you can see right here, inside here, where I gashed it real good. Because it was going in, it was grinding. I was like, what is wrong with that? This. So be sure to back that out. Did I destroy the tail boom? No. Did I scratch it up? Yes. Does it look ugly? Yeah, if you're looking at it. But it is what it is. I have spare tail booms. I'll put them on later when I want this thing to look extra pretty, I guess, one day. I doubt it, though. I took my time and care on this one. But, mistakes were made. I assembled all of this. I did not lock any of it down until after the whole frame and everything was assembled. I did accidentally, without thinking, lock these 4 in here. So, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, it was all these right here, these 6. They got put in without me thinking. Did it wreck everything? No. I just went and built the whole craft around it. This piece here, this set screw, it actually snapped about 1/4 of an inch as I was fastening it into place last night. So, and I wasn't putting hardly any pressure. I wouldn't even call it medium level pressure. I was just getting it into place and it was just beginning to snug. And I gave it a tiny little twist as I was about to start setting it in permanently, and it snapped. So, fortunately, enough of it. It all came out when I pulled it out, and it was still attached via its own paint. But I just pulled the broken tip off and rethreaded it. Now it's not a critical part. It was for getting the canopy mounts in place. There is a cross member here, but it is firm and it's tight in place. It's not going anywhere. So just poor quality on the metal. Frustration here. Install servo first, then glue it with 502. Well, I didn't quite follow how and what they meant by gluing it in, how they wanted you to glue it in. I first glued them in place, and then I found out, oh, yeah, they were right. They knew what they were talking about. The servo had some give and play, so I set the servo in, and then I added the glue. And the glue I put on the inside, it looks ugly. I don't see how it does any function whatsoever, because once these fasteners went in, when I put the screws in, it clamped it into place anyways. But that's what they wanted, so I tried to add a little bead of CA glue here. Dumb and ugly. Two different servo types, 21T and 25T. I found that neither one of them worked on these GDW. They came packaged with both the 4062 part and the 4064 part. So since the teeth didn't match regardless of what they came packaged with, I just used the ones that came with the servos. And whatever. They're fine. So that's for your cyclic servos I'm referring to. This page was pretty straightforward. No issues here. Again, this was that set screw I was talking about earlier. It gashed me up good. And I was trying to figure out what was catching. And turns out it was my fault. So I had to back this little piece out, and then it went in nice and clean. Oh, I'm referencing that I gotta Loctite everything. Alright. Same issue. This was a real rough one to get out, but there was nothing to clamp in on it. So, and why are they color coding it red? Are they wanting red Loctite? Or do they want green here? I don't know. It's confused me. So, I talked to some expert in reference, and they said, don't let this one just spin free. All right, deal. But always put a bearing lock on this one. So there you go. 680 goes in here, and your 270 series goes in here on these. Sorry, this one. Don't Loctite that. Lock that one. Lock that one. Again, they don't indicate whether or not I didn't actually do anything here. This already came pre-assembled. I put thread locker on these points, but I don't like it red, or do you put blue? Why are you having this in color? Their whole color coding convention made absolutely no sense. This whole build. That was interesting. It took me a few attempts to get the tail through because I don't have coat hangers. Plastic coat hangers are the name of the game these days. Metal coat hangers are just a thing of the past, I guess. I think what I ended up doing was I used a push rod, if I remember right. I just fished it through with a push rod. This all assembled nicely. It's cheap, but tell you what, give them credit where credit's due. This slides smooth all the way. And on my Nimbus, I could go 100% this way, but as soon as I got to here, the last millimeter, it would start to bind. Right about there, and it got really stiff. Not impossible, but enough that I wasn't going to give the full length of throw on my tail because of how it was binding here. And I shimmed it per the instructions on the manual. Shimming it still wasn't enough. So for being so cheap, this it's functional and it works just fine. They don't indicate any. This is plastic here, so I didn't put anything in here anyways. But again, why color code it if it's, you know, doesn't CA glue went in here. This you can use Loctite because this piece up here is metal. This I use CA glue, 502, 271 for Loctite, 502 for the CA. Here is a big problem. The servo mounting actually is opposite of what they show here in the manual. You're supposed to have servo mounted towards the rear, and in here they show servo mounted towards the front. If you see these set screws for the belt tensioner right here, they're facing this way. They're facing this way. The servo does not go that way, or the arm isn't going to be long enough. But, oh wow, they changed it. Then now it's showing reverse. Servo facing to the rear. Make up your mind, pick a lane. This all came together actually nicely. I could not. I tried and I just absolutely could not get this bearing out. So that's a fail on my part. This one I got out, if I remember right. But it just sucked because they were, and I tried I couldn't get it out. This was optional. I put it in. So, you know, your mileage may vary. And that's this retaining piece right here. It's fine. It's not rubbing. I made a failed attempt at this, and I had to go back and redo it because the ring and everything wasn't set in. But read these steps carefully, and then reread them, and then do your practice and make sure you got it set right. Fortunately, I didn't Loctite any of this, so it was okay to pull it out and reassemble it later. And I found the error of my ways when I went to go set in this. And I was like, oh, wait, I need to back up. Okay. Add an extra 15-20 minutes to the build. It wasn't that big a deal. And if you're curious, go watch the video. That's why I tried to do these raw and uncut, so you can see all my mistakes along the way. That's straightforward. Turn the clockwise, and you're gonna get the tail rotor itself also spinning clockwise. We're good. I feel like these were essentially useless. Once I had placed this boom in and I gave it a little bit of tension, it was just fine. But anyways, that's their design. It was already set in place. So anyways, it is what it is. That's how they want it. I follow their instructions. This one was this was a bear. I put the pinion in. I wanted to put the pinion and everything in last, after I had mounted it, because I was concerned about the height. of, see if I can even show it in here. Yeah, it's not a very good angle, but the concern is always like, is your pinion going to match up with your gearing? And in this case it does, but you can't get these set screws in properly with this ring here. They're actually sitting just slightly below. So you have to put the pinion in first with this collar, and then it was a guesstimation because seated all the way down against the motor, then the pinion sit too low and it wasn't making full contact with the gear here. But seating too high, the pinion was too high, so I had to kind of eyeball it and judge, and I'd say it's probably about a 4mm. I raised the pinion up by about 4mm, give or take. Yeah, about 4mm. But it's sitting even now with the main gear. So yes, unfortunately, you have to follow their instructions and get this all set into place. I just personally, I used green Loctite, and by the time I realized my mistake and had to back it out, I had a pucker up moment and it was just starting to set. So do what you want to do on this part. This is just, I'd do a practice run. That's the truth. I think you're better off doing a practice run, assembling it, finding out exactly the right height that you want, then disassemble it, and then set the pinion screws in, because all of this is going to be a real bear if you put the locker in, get it mounted, and realize, oh, the pinion is too low or the pinion is too high. So that's not cool. Straightforward. I didn't use their carbon plates. I bought a little extra flare. I mean, it was like $8 or $9 or whatever for these two plates. They're okay. I don't like the way the machining came out. It really it burned it. Maybe the camera does or doesn't pick it up, but you can kind of see the machining marks. Still though, it looks cool. Just gave the whole thing a little flair. All right, straightforward. The ESC mounting was frustrating. It does not come with this plate, so I don't even understand how or what, or anyways, whatever. I used this plate, and this is where the ESC mounted onto this plate. They didn't come with this plate. I don't even understand where that instructions is for. I left my head scratching at that, but anyways, this is what I ended up having, and that's where the ESC is mounted anyways. Now you have an option of you can set the ESC into this hole or this hole. I gave it a little lower, and I put it into the lower one right here. You can change the angle of the ESC is what I'm saying. Big deal. That's user preference, I guess. Another problem. Every step of the way, like for example, here's a perfect one. There's only one hole showing here. Well, now they have 3 different fastener holes. There's one here. There's the small one here and a small one here, but they have an oval shaped one here, a small one, and so small, circle, oval, nothing. That's everywhere in this manual, and that's where you're gonna get frustrated. I did. It is what it is. Be careful when you're putting this piece in. I backed it out last night because I didn't do any thread lock. I wanted to make sure that all the linkages and everything was set properly before I actually permanently mounted it in place. Well, and this nut shot out. It's like, and it exploded somewhere across the room. Fortunately, they did give you a spare one in the kit, so I just used the spare one. But yeah, when you if you're gonna remove this, just remember this little piece right here. It's gonna explode open once the tension is gone, and this little nut has a very high possibility of just popping right off and shooting across the room. This is a cool little tool that came with the kit. Just for getting your swash level. I like it. Good on them for including this. Nothing there really noteworthy. Getting near the end of the manual. Almost done. Same thing. Pay attention to the notching. A lower notch here and the upper tip notch on the outer side. Lower notch here, upper notch is on the inside. Gear, that straightforward, that was easy. Battery, I had 3 choices on battery packs, and I went with the medium sized one. The 2700 milliamp was just barely getting in. I could get the canopy on, but I was rubbing right here. It was sitting just so high up. It didn't seem to affect the center of gravity, because when I put it in place, I mean it's not going anywhere. So, you know, the craft is balanced. So yeah, CNH, but still, these were, I want to say I got these for 18 bucks. I'm pretty sure these were I had $13 packs that I was going to put in. They were 2700 milliamp, but they were only 40C, so it was just a long, slow flight. It's a trainer. These are going to be just fine. I do have some higher performance by CNHL meant for FPV quads. It's a 1800 pack. These are pretty banging deal. 6S packs, 1800 milliamps. Normally they're $30, but if you wait for a sale, I just bought 2 more for 10 bucks each. And then I paid like $8 or $9 shipping, but still 1800 milliamp 6S pack. This would go great in a I don't think it would fit an RS4. It might, but it would definitely easily fit this one sideways. You have to check if that would work in an RS4. Maybe I could review and experiment later on that. But yeah, that's it. What?
Are you live?
Yeah, no, not live, but I'm filming a video. Anyways. Okay. Bye. Yeah. All right, folks. I hope you you got some value out of this. This is my gift back to the hobby. In honor of everybody who's helped me, I wanted to just turn around and pay it forward too if I can. And that was it was a good build. I can't wait to get this thing up in the air and flying. It's a trainer for my wife and for me. We'll be buddy boxing, so I'm the one-eyed man and she's the blind. So I'm a few baby steps ahead of her as far as skill is concerned, but we're gonna get through this together, and crashing this is not gonna cripple emotionally. All right, thanks.